We welcome you all to this eighth event. We will have the objective to promote cooperation among state members through the entities that are in charge of governmental accounting, to exchange experiences on the common topics, and to build and strengthen accounting practices, budget execution, sharing information of financial and budgeting to contribute the efficacy and transparency of the region. We will have the honor to have Roberto Enlace y Montaño on behalf of the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. And also Miguel Sergio Saliceo Valdespino in representing the Ministry of the Department of Expenditure of the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. Juan Torres Garcia, head of the Unit of Governmental Accounting and focal chairman of this event 20 and 22. And also we will be having Santiago Schneider, leader expert of financial events of the World Bank. Mark Thomas, Director for Colombia and Mexico, Latin America and Caribbean region of the World Bank. Ramón Hurtado Arcos, Senior Economist of the Department of Fiscal Matters of the International Monetary Fund. Ross Smith, Technical Director of the Program of International Accounting Practices and Standard for the Public Sector. And we invite Juan Torres Garcia, Chairman of the focal event, in order to convey the first message. Good morning to you all. Dear guests and representatives and officers of governmental accounting systems of the member states of FOCAL, as well as multilateral events, international bodies that are here with us, and also the authorities of the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit, and thank you for being with us today. And on behalf of the governmental accounting systems, we welcome you to the 8th edition of the Governmental Accounting event in Latin America. Today I'm very happy to receive you all. And at last, we are physically meeting face to face. We were having virtual meetings before, but thank you for being present today. And we have been working very actively since Mexico got the chairmanship of the forum on April 23 in the 7th event of FOCAL in Ecuador. From there on, until now, we have faced a challenge, but also an honor to be the chairman of the forum that is constituted by Bolivia, Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, San Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, Uruguay. And today we will be having also Venezuela. And this network now is constituted by 18 Latin American countries and will be working with the support of each of the accounting officers together with international bodies as well as with the International Accounting Board, ISA's board of the public sector, as well as many banks, as for example the World Bank, the Inter-American Bank, the Monetary Fund, that has supported the financial event and fostering the forum events and activities since it was founded. It's a great honor for my country to host this event with the representatives of the Latin America governmental accounting systems, as well as with the specialists and experts that are joining us virtually today. And among the panelists are experts, general accountants of the member states of the forum, as well as financial specialists and international experts of international bodies. Together with the Ministry of Treasury, they have joined efforts in order to conduct a high summit. Therefore, in the program you will have in front of you, you will have the list of topics that have been of common interest by the member states and that put Latin America as promoter of the good governance accounting system practices. We will be having three hectic jobs days, and we will be discussing many topics. The first day, the digital transformation in the public sector, and also the GovTech Maturity Index, digitalization systems, challenges in the practice of accounting and international standards for the public sector, as well as the achievements and success implementation of public standards in order to summarize a little bit all the activities we conduct. And also we will have two other days, and you will see it in your agenda. And we will be discussing different topics, and we will exchange experiences during the 3 days. And these will strengthen and develop the governmental accounting systems as the common language, accounting, and also we will be putting Latin America region with higher and strengthened government officers, with trained officers, and also we will be having coherent accounting systems that can be transparent of the public practices. Today, as the president of FOCAL from Mexico City, I cordially welcome you all, and I wish that these 3 days be fruitful for all of us. Thank you. We kindly request to come to the stage Roberto Lazari Montaño on behalf of the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. Good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Secretary, Pedro Ramírez de la O, welcomes you, and he apologizes because of his hectic agenda, he couldn't be here. We cordially welcome to the 8th event of governmental accounting practices in Latin America, and we are glad to share this proceeding with the representatives of multilateral bodies, the Unit of Governmental Accounting Systems, Juan Torres, and also the head of the investment unit. And also we kindly receive all the member states representatives that, as Juan says, are at last meeting face to face. This program is the one that you have on the table and reflects the commitment of Mexico to support and strengthen the exchange of activities and experiences of regulatory accounting systems of the member states, and also facilitates to move on in the agendas on topics that are relevant for us nowadays and for the future. And we agree on the need to cover all these topics, both in budget and financial matters that are common interest, and discuss the implications. As you know, after 2 years of the pandemic, it's a pleasure to be able to meet you. The pandemic gave us a lot of lessons, not only the pandemic, but also we learned about the geopolitical and geographical conflicts that have exerted pressure on the accounting policies. And also it has required to take counter-cyclic practices or adjust financial budgets by all the countries, because that implies a lot of effects in the governmental accounting systems and revealing information. On that context, it's important that the strategy of all the governments have this element present to strengthen public policies. In our case, it was an adjustment, strengthening of the budget in the priority sectors in order to go out of pandemic without exerting additional pressures. As I was saying, this has implications and will require certain modification from accounting system and revealing of information systems, but also we learn lessons on the job that we need to do in order to be resilient in public policies. In this context, I want to make a parenthesis of the relevance and to have a focus, a well-balanced focus, an integral focus that will allow us to identify and recognize the contingency on the both sides of the balance sheet that will allow us to plan better in the future. In this context, this forum is important because it will allow us to participate and meet together all the accounting officers, because in the regions have been in charge of promoting this efficacy, efficiency, and adjustments in the context of pandemic. And that's why in this year and from the Ministry of Treasury, we are promoting this event and this dialogue with officers and accountants of the region to position the relevant matters not only for Mexico but other countries and share experiences and challenges in an environment that will continue to be complex in the following years. And we reconfirm our commitment with VIII to promote best accounting practices with other governments. It's important to recognize in the agenda the topics that are relevant. And also with the digital innovation measures all around the world, we have accelerated innovation and adaptation of new technologies in different countries. And it is important because this is a matter that has an important position in our agenda. And also the VIII Governmental Accounting Forum includes the sustainability focus that from the Ministry of Treasury we recognize that it is not also only the future of the financial and accounting systems, but also will imply certain effects in the governmental accounting systems of the countries. We know that the private sector has made a tremendous job in revealing financial information by following the Helsinki Protocol. And it is important as public entities to incorporate this recognition of the climate contingency in the balance sheets that will allow us to identify the mitigating factors and other public policies factors in order not to stop changing and modifying some topics in the private sector. And also we need to exert the guidelines of sustainability practices in the accounting policies in order to be the most sustainable accounting system in the world. And continuous innovation. That's why we have facilitated these initiatives to build a financial system that is not only sustainable, but also more inclusive and aware of the future challenges. These activities, specifically for us, are not only the sustainable financing system that, thanks to the alignment of the financial and budget systems and the framework designed in 2019, includes also the sustainable taxonomy factor. This sustainable taxonomy does not only allow us to promote the sustainable financing, but also sets the basis to have an homogeneous balance between the public and private sector and continue promoting the sustainable financing in the private sector. These activities not only strengthen the financial system, but also strengthen the use of resources to have a favorable impact in society. That's why, and with all the bounties that represent in the accounting systems and the management of the balance, continues incorporating new innovative systems to report information in a continuous and sustained manner. Therefore, the public sector bodies will play an important role in the development, recognition, communication of information in order to achieve sustainable economies and budgets. We confirm our commitment of supporting the focal events to position Latin America in the best accounting framework and be transparent in the use of public resources. And I would like to make special recognition to the Subsecretariat of Expenditures of the Ministry of Treasury to have this forum and promote the best matters that will continue to innovate the best practices in accounting system in Latin America. Thank you very much. And now we call to the podium Ross Smith, representative of the Council of International Accounting Standards for the Public Sector. I appreciate you bear with me, and I will continue with some initiatives. Thank you for having me here today in the VIII team. And it's an honor to return to Latin America and attend to the event of governmental accounting activity system in Latin America. This is the first opportunity to be physically present here because I was previously meeting you digitally, and I'm very happy to be face to face here with you. I apologize because the chairman, González Bisher, had some other commitments that were in his agenda and couldn't be with us today, but conveys you the best wishes to have a successful event and says that he will meet us next year. The comment today, well, I consider that the region and the work of Focal and the relevance it has on the networks is very important because we can see how Focal region is the leader in the use of best governmental accounting practices and continue to develop the standards. And I'm very happy to be here to discuss the use of IPSAS among the countries that are adopting and implementing these standards. Well, to all the attendees, you must promote the changing engine and you must be very, very successful to encourage the best practices in accounting system. I will be talking about IPSASB's activities. I can tell you that there are many persons from APSIS personnel that will be supporting us in different initiatives of IPSAS-B, and I will give you a general vision of the international scenario, and we will be focusing in this region, and I will capture the best points of the index and the findings, and I will update you on the APSIS work in order to develop the team standards of all the accountants, focusing on public sector and in the accounting system. You will listen on the alignment of IPSAS-B toward the accounting practices and the accounting statistical standards, because it is important that IPSAS-B information be used. And I will update you about our work addressed to sustainability. We have listened that this is important for all the world, but you will listen on the consultation document that we issued this year, and we will have a feedback from you. And I will also read some of the words of the constituent agencies. It's important to put effort in all the Latin America region and use IPSAS-B standards and also see the challenges to which we are facing and the points that are important in order to be sure that we will be implementing them among the programs of the Council, and we will talk about the requirements and the needs. And I invite you not to look to the state members alone, but to cover the region and be nominees for the consultant body in the future and participate in the task force in areas that are common interest to be updated about the needs in the region, because it's the leading region to adapt the IPSASB activities, and it is important to participate. This forum is wonderful because it's the leader of that index, but we would like to increase the participation among regions. And with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope that the following 3 days be successful, and feel very happy to be here and have the opportunity to talk to you in the following 3 days. And we invite to the podium Román Hurtado Arcos, representative of the International Forum.
Good morning. I know you're going to enable me to do the following. I see everyone, and I see you in 3D. After 2 years, finally, we're together. Now, we're together here, and first of all, and I see you all, and I want to congratulate Juan and all his team. I want to congratulate the host country, Mexico, for inviting us once again. You know, we've been here before, but we're back. An acknowledgement also from my side. I acknowledge you all. Thank you for being part of the forum. We thank Equator because they've joined us remotely. It's the only economy that's done this. And I'm sorry because I would have loved to travel to the Equator also. So an acknowledgement to them. Second of all, and maybe my speech is it's going to sound a bit awkward. You're going to allow me to do so. I mean, after such a long leave, we can give us that margin. After 2 years, Focal is still here. The pandemic's done, as the representative and the secretary said, we've surpassed the crisis. And those who have been members of Focal for longer, you remember one of the phrases that I quote, this forum is yours. It's for you accountants, it's for the World Bank, it's for the Inter-American Bank, IPSASB Fund. We're here to support you. And you have kept this forum alive under complex circumstances, difficult circumstances, and I believe that, at least as far as me, and I mean, I know that we're all part of it. We've all been constituting this entity and supporting it and making it move forward, and that gives me comfort. So I believe that what you all deserve is an applause because you've been working throughout all this time as well. And well, just putting our emotions aside, if I don't put them aside, somebody's going to get on my case. But overall, I wanted to mention that from the forums and the fund's perspectives or grounds, we are and we will always be here supporting you all, helping you all. In this case, I'm very happy because normally, I'd be up at the podium alone or with an expert. But today I have a colleague of mine. She is part from the statistics department. She's been part of other forums, as Ross mentioned. She's been working on the integration of different sources of data. And that's very important. I believe also that after the first session, we're going to be discussing digitalization, that transformation, that's a way in which we can profit and use this digitalization and its scalability using sources of different data, and this will all converge, right? So by doing so, I just have a few words left. I want to thank Juan for his effort once again, and that's it from my side. It's my pleasure to see you and to get the emotion to feel you present. I know it's not a flat screen. I see you and we're face to face here, so it's very interesting. I don't know if this feeling is something that happens only to me or all my colleagues. I see new friendly faces, So on one side, that's gratifying, but this is also going to mean that we have to go through a major effort now. We have to keep in touch. I don't know. Sometimes you think, okay, do I approach this person, contact that person? Let's all get to know each other. I mean, we're maybe we need a name tag this time, Juan, but I know it's gonna be an effort from our side to contact each other and get to know each other, just visit each other's tables too. So thank you all very much. Now the word or the floor is for Mr. Santiago Snyder, representative of the Inter-American Development Bank. Good morning. I would like to start by thanking you for inviting me to be part of this Focal Forum Edition 2022. We're very happy, as our colleague just mentioned, we're happy to be together face to face, living this after so many years. And what's extremely important is that we surpassed all the challenges of COVID and the pandemic. I want to thank you. I want to thank the Mexican authorities or counterparts from the Under Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. Thank you for hosting this. It's been excellent. Thank you for being a leading entity during this event. I'd like to thank the national directors and government accountants of FOCAL. And I want to thank our counterparts from the World Bank, Inter-American Bank, and other agencies that have actively participated coordinating this important event. Without doubt, FOCAL it's a very important debate. We're sharing best ideas, sharing knowledge, experience, and best practices. It gives us that room. We have national and international experts and development agencies or entities. We're part of these type of conferences to have debates about the status. We have to discuss the challenges and different themes, just the norms, the standards. We want to generate efficient solutions that drive us towards transparency and public budget exercise of the region. So for the bank, for the BID, we're strengthening the alignment to governance in Latin American governments. So we're a pillar. It's fundamental. To be transparent is basic for development. We're engaged. We're committed with the new generations. We're working for innovation in a region and implementing the NICS-SP, the norms, along with technology and innovation for an efficient management of public budget exercise. We want to find stimulation to all go through those transparent processes, to be accountable when we exercise budget. We're supporting FOCAL and very happy to do so since it was constituted. We have technical support, counterparts of a regional scale, and we're here discussing public policies. We want to contribute to the betterment of public budgeting. Like previous years, I'll tell you that this year FOCAL has a set of topics. One of them is digital transformation for the public system, informatic systems, guidelines for the digitalization process, to analyze public budget exercise experiences and challenges. We're going to be discussing the implementation of NICS-SP at municipal and national level. And additionally, we're going to be presenting the preliminary results of the regional study in our report. We have financial reports correlating them to sustainability in the public sector for LATAM. I profit from this opportunity to congratulate all the accountants and national directors of accounting agencies because you've gone through that major effort. You're improving the baseline when we speak of sustainability. Lastly, on behalf of the BID, I want to congratulate all the economies for your major effort and the scope of implementation of NICS-SP. With NICS-SP, we have the fundamental framework to build accounting entry information or reports of high quality with efficient decision-making process in the field of budget administration. This benefits governments, the public and private sector, entities, social society as well. We confirm the commitment of the BID of the bank. We're going to be supporting the implementation of best practices and supporting these debate sessions and agencies as FOCAL. We wish you the best of success during this workday. We're going to continue fostering the improvement of public administration's exercises in the region. Thank you so much. The podium is for Mr. Mark Thomas, representative of the World Bank. Good morning. Before I continue, I greet you all who are present, and I want to especially mention Roberto Laceri Montaño, who's representing the Secretary of the Ministry of Treasury, and I thank you and I greet you, government authorities, because I'm honored to share the podium during this opening celebration of the eighth focal edition. I'd like to thank Miguel Sergio Siliceo Valdespino as representing the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. Juan Torres Garcia, he is the chairman of the Department of the Ministry of Controller of Government Accounting, and he's the president of OCAL. I thank Ross Smith, technical director and director of the International Standard Board and Accounting of the public sector. I thank Ramon Hurtado Arcos, economist senior from the Monetary Fund, and Javier Davila Perez, chief of the Department of Public Budget and Administration Procurement of VIII. Dearest accountants and public in general, member states of FOCA, ladies and gentlemen, it's for me a pleasure to be part of this session in this new edition of the yearly Forum of FOCAL after surpassing the restrictions that are the outputs of the pandemic that we all know very well. Now, on behalf of the World Bank, I sincerely recognize the hosts of this event. Specifically, I'd like to thank Juan Torres and all his team. In the agenda of the World Bank, we want to cut down on famine and have shared responsibilities in different ventures. We want to work for transparency and accountability, which is fundamental. Part of our activities are focused on supporting member states to create competent agencies that are open, inclusive, and that provide the right response to the general public because they demand transparency. This is why today I want to highlight, first of all, that it's very important for us to debate the themes of this forum, understand the context and the problems or challenges of public governance, especially in this post-pandemic stage. We want adequate accountability, and it's key. Being transparent is key of any modern public administration that's efficient and provides the right responses to the citizens' petitions. Now, it's relevant, and it became even more relevant amidst the crisis that was unleashed by the pandemic, when the governments were capable of providing the right responses and have a front towards the difficulties and build strategies and social programs and fiscal stimulation of government as money transference that benefits unemployment with unemployment programs, guarantees, social security programs, amongst others. Now, amidst the context, we'd have to adapt and adopt accounting guidelines to meet or be in compliance with best international standards. It's key for an adequate accountability to happen, along with fiscal transparency that leads us to see how and where did we allocate and spend the resources. But that public response leads us to mitigate the impact of the pandemic. And this translates into an increment of public debt. The adequate accounting from our side could lead us to be transparent regarding the assets and liabilities of government, supporting transparency as a whole, and supporting the debt and the improvement of what's happening in the financial sector. Second of all, I want to highlight that it's extremely relevant for us to analyze the sustainability reports and the creation of this report for the public sector. Climate change is core in the World Bank's agenda. And one of the greatest challenges that humanity or the region is facing in this field, the accountants of the public sector face a challenge. They play a crucial role because they have to supply our sources of financial reports of top quality to increase transparency so we can understand the effects of climate change and public finances. And by doing so, they can help governments to draft the adequate public policies. And third place, I'd like to highlight that it's extremely important for us to work on innovation and go through a digital transformation process to improve accountability. For example, there's the GovTech initiative, and we are fostering the capacity to integrate and transform into the digital world. That's for the betterment of our governments. So technology improvements leads us to manage transparent information that reaches us timely to formulate public policy and go through the decision-making process that's correct. In one of today's sessions, we're going to be presenting the maturity index of GovTech, the state of transformation towards that digital world for the public sector. For many years, the World Bank has been supporting Focal Forum in achieving its objectives. Now, I'd like to quote three examples in which we have worked in three initiatives. First of all, we have had to facilitate and share best practices and knowledge. We need to have the proper accounting entry and fiscal information in European countries and Asian countries. They have a platform called Pulsar. Pulsar as a platform works just like Focal. In the past 2 years, we have been promoting a series of forums between Pulsar and Focal, both agencies, which have been beneficial for all, well received by the economies of both regions. Second of all, we achieved an important objective by training our government officials in the Latin American region. They've trained to understand provisions for the accounting sector in government. We're working jointly with other agencies such as the World Bank, Zurich University, and we trained over 300 government officials in the region. And third of all, we coordinated our efforts with Focal and Zurich University, and we drafted and published in March 2022 a regional study about the impact of COVID. And we submitted the financial reports. In that, we include a chapter of recommendations to improve transparency in the financial and fiscal reports as well. I conclude my participation by repeating that we're completely engaged, completely committed as the World Bank with member countries or economies of Focal. We're going to continue supporting you all along the way towards an improvement in that path towards transparency and accountability. I congratulate you all once again for organizing this great event, and I wish you the best of success in this new 8th edition of Focal. Thank you so much. We summon to the podium Miguel. It's now Miguel Sergio Valdespino. He's representing the Undersecretary of the Treasury or the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit. Good morning. We welcome you all to Mexico City, the host country. It's a great country that opens its arms with all pleasure. Now, I don't know if you've visited our country before, but besides today's work, I'd like to tell you that you like to profit. I wish you could profit from the opportunity you have here to visit the Anthropology Museum that's right by us. Drink a shot of mezcal and just continue. Let's all continue working for our countries. It's worth our while. I welcome you all to our country once again. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in this 8th Forum of Focal. Second of all, I'd like to congratulate Juan. Thank you, and an applause for Juan, because he's done a great job. I was watching the program, the instrument you have in your hands, and to build that, they required creativity in all the action for that program's development. I'll speak about the economics of our country briefly. As you well know, each year, this forum gives us the opportunity to share best practices and to analyze the progress in accounting disciplines. The truth is, I'm not very good in accounting, though, I must tell you. I'd like to understand accounting better, and I respect all accountants a lot. You are just wizards. I mean, it's vital. What your discipline is vital. And I've had the opportunity to work with securities or bonds, international bonds. When we land these operations successfully, we have to see Mexico's a good creditor. You have the information there, and it's transparent, timely, and there's a way in which I know you do great work with the data you get with international bonds or assets. The hard work and the results are 80% to you, and clearly that work you do, that's been great. I mean, there's international bodies or stakeholders present with us, and they benefit our accounting professions. We think about the regulators, the qualifying entities, those who score in Latin America. These entities that qualify us have us on their side. We have created an instrument that's very powerful. And by doing this, we improved our rating, the score we receive, which translates in the best use of international and national resources. And what we're doing, our endeavors benefit all the economies involved. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. Now, in that sense, I'd like to tell you that the financial reports have an impact in the accounting system. It's very important. These reports are relevant for all our economies on one hand, and on the other hand, in Mexico's economy, we have exercised our profession positively, even though the situations with COVID-19 have been complex, and everything we've seen are gaps. There's a lack of supply of microchips, lack of supply chains, and all the value chains to consider. The success in our country is the following. We have tried to be extremely disciplined in the economic side of things in our country and what's fiscal. Amidst the pandemic, our economy didn't have to incur into international market debt. And that side, I mean, that today is reflected in international agencies. Those panel members that are with me representing the agencies, no, they're the regulator qualifying agencies. They have awarded our discipline in the fiscal field of things. Now, based on my experience and the hard experience in the work field that I've had as a professional in Mexico, gives us the report so you can see it. We're going to be discussing different subjects throughout our program. And as a representative of the Ministry of Treasury, I open room now. And I want to tell you the following. If you want, contact Juan and let us know how you drafted your tax policies or your revenue policies or general acts, and how we've done it in Mexico. You can see what we've implemented as reference. You want to analyze macroeconomics in Mexico, you can sit down with me and I can support you all. Now, you've mentioned sustainability as a core subject. Now, it's our norms. It's in Mexico. We've tried to be very cutthroat, very sharp with ESGs, environmental social governance. And Mexico has really progressed down that path. In this environmental governance, we've been working along with National Development Bank, NAFINSA, or the national agency that finances projects is NAFINSA. We've worked with other stakeholders and with the ESG format. These programs or projects are very strong and they're avant-garde. If you think that you want to get to know more about this subject and you want us to share our experiences in international markets, if you want to analyze the structure of it all and how we create with a framework agreement, how much it would cost, etc. If you need that information as reference, count on it. If you think that could be of help in your economies, just let me know. Lastly, I'd like to tell you all that these actions in place, what's been materialized is because our liabilities have been well administrated in international markets, which has had positive results in the exercise of public budget in our country. This is why Mexico is right down on the fields of economic recovery. And I hope that we can unite with other economies that are in that path towards recovery in LATAM. I'm sure that these conferences that will happen throughout these 3 days of forum are going to be highly productive and will guide us towards this frame of what's leading our efforts in all the member states and the member states of FOCAL. In this morning's session, I heard a briefing from public or from civil protection agencies in Mexico. We heard that message, but we know that here we've called in all the elite of accountants and professionals in these fields to Mexico. It's an analogy with football too. In Mexico, the national soccer team Those of you who know about soccer know that in our National Soccer League, we have Pumas that belongs to National Autonomous University. It hired a player that played 14 years at Barcelona. His name is Dani Alves. There was a meme, and the meme was about Dani Alves, who was hired by Barcelona 3 months, and then he played with Pumas, and he lost all the games, all the matches. And Dani Alves had felt more earthquakes in Mexico than the matches that he's played with Pumas. But the good news is that in Mexico, earthquakes happen in September, and right now it's October, so feel at ease. Don't worry about that. For those who live in Mexico, we have to wait for the earthquake month next year in September. The best of all for you, and welcome to my country. Now we'll continue listening to Mr. Laceri Montaño, representing the Undersecretary of Treasury and Public Credit. He's in the opening celebration of this forum. Without further ado, I won't bore you. It's an honor for me to celebrate the opening in representative of Ramirez de la O, the representative of the Ministry of Treasury. We inaugurate this 8th Forum of FOCAL with Latin American economies. I wish you the best forum. I hope it's highly productive and it contributes to the objectives. We're working on integrating our efforts since 2014. We want to continue strengthening the bonds that make us all brother economies in Latin America. So once again, thank you all for being part of this forum. Thank you. We thank the representatives of the Ministry of Treasury and Public Credit and those who are part of the Presidium. We thank you all for being part of the panel during the opening celebration.